Welcome to Subject Soup. Imagine living in a place where every step is watched, every move is restricted, and even dreaming of freedom comes with life-threatening risks. Why can't North Koreans simply escape to neighboring countries? The answer is more complex and harrowing than you think. That's why North Koreans can't escape to neighboring countries. Hey, everyone! Today, we're diving deep into a really intense topic: why it's almost impossible for North Koreans to escape to neighboring countries. We all know that North Korea is one of the most isolated and secretive nations on the planet, but the extent to which it has locked down its borders is pretty mind-blowing. Grab your popcorn and get ready, this is going to be one heck of a ride. Let's start with the first major obstacle, the literal walls. We've all heard about the Great Wall of China, but North Korea has taken things to a whole new level. Along its borders with China and Russia, North Korea has built a crazy extensive network of fences, guard towers, and surveillance systems that make it really hard for anyone to escape. We're not talking about one or two fences here. No. They've stacked up multiple layers of fencing. Imagine you're trying to sneak across, and every 100 meters, there's another fence, another set of guards, another checkpoint. And just in case you thought you could crawl under the fence, think again. They've reinforced the ground too. It's not just physical barriers either. The North Korean government has also deployed high-tech surveillance systems. Think cameras, motion sensors, drones, basically any tool you can imagine to track someone trying to cross. These things are top-notch, making it way harder for anyone to escape without being detected. Here's where it gets really grim. North Korean border guards have shoot on-site orders for anyone trying to cross the border illegally. If you get caught sneaking across, you're not just risking arrest, you're risking your life. The harsh reality is that these orders act as a massive deterrent for anyone thinking of trying to escape. Let's not forget another reason why escaping is so risky. The North Korean government punishes not just the person who tries to flee, but also their family. Imagine trying to escape and knowing that if you get caught, your parents, siblings, or children could be thrown into labor camps. That's some serious psychological pressure to deal with. Okay, let's talk about what happens when someone actually gets caught. Defectors face punishment that's beyond anything most people can imagine. Many are sent to brutal labor camps, where they're forced to work in terrible conditions, often for years. The goal? To break their spirit and send a strong message to anyone else who might think about escaping. These labor camps aren't just prisons, they're a whole different level of suffering. They're known for overcrowding, food shortages, disease, and intense physical labor. People are worked to the bone, with little regard for their health or safety. And the worst part? Many of these camps are practically unknown to the outside world, making it difficult for anyone to know what's really going on inside. The fear of punishment doesn't just stop at the physical threat of labor camps. It also takes a huge psychological toll. Imagine living your entire life knowing that any step you take might lead to a lifetime of suffering for you and your loved ones. That's a pressure most of us can't even begin to fathom. So, where do most North Koreans try to escape to? China seems like the obvious choice, right? It's right next door, and it's a massive country. But here's the thing, China doesn't view North Korean defectors as refugees, they consider them economic migrants. And that's a huge problem. Instead of offering refuge, China has a policy of forcibly sending defectors back to North Korea. This is done in accordance with agreements between the two countries. So, even if someone manages to make it to China, they risk being sent straight back into the horrors of North Korea, where the punishment could be even worse than before. The threat of being deported back to North Korea is a massive deterrent for anyone considering fleeing through China. Those who are sent back often face brutal punishment, torture, imprisonment, or worse. It's a cruel system that forces many to stay put, no matter how desperate they are for freedom. But there's another dark side to all of this: human trafficking. Many North Korean defectors who make it to China often find themselves vulnerable to traffickers who prey on their desperation. Women, in particular, are at risk of being sold into forced marriages or sexual slavery. It's a nightmare scenario that adds even more danger to an already perilous journey. The North Korean government isn't just monitoring the borders, it's also watching its own citizens closely. The regime has a tight grip on everything: who you talk to, where you go, and even what you think. The country operates like a giant surveillance state, and if you try to escape, they'll track you down using a mix of spies, informants, and advanced technology. North Korea relies heavily on informants. Everyday citizens are often recruited or coerced into spying on their own families and neighbors. This means that if someone's planning to escape, there's a good chance someone will notice and report them to the authorities. It creates an atmosphere of mistrust where no one can really be sure who they can trust. Okay, so let's say someone decides to take a different route and head toward Russia. That's another tricky situation. While Russia doesn't have the same repatriation agreement with North Korea as China, defectors still face huge challenges. Russia has been known to deport defectors back to China, where they face the same risks of being sent back to North Korea. So, even when you think you've found an escape route, the road to freedom is still riddled with dangers. In some cases, people will try to escape through smuggling routes, often relying on underground networks to get to freedom. These routes are risky and expensive, and there's no guarantee of success. Smugglers may betray their clients, and people may find themselves stuck in a foreign country without any help or support. The dream of escaping to South Korea is a common hope for many defectors. But the journey to South Korea is long, dangerous, and incredibly difficult. South Korea does offer asylum to defectors, but getting there is no walk in the park. Many defectors first have to make it to a third country before even being able to apply for asylum in South Korea. Once defectors make it to South Korea, they are generally welcomed with open arms, but it's not an easy transition. Many of them have lived their entire lives under the oppressive rule of North Korea, and adjusting to life in the South can be a huge cultural shock. There's a lot of support, but it's still a tough road ahead. The United Nations has called for greater protection of North Korean defectors, but the international community has limited influence over what happens inside North Korea. The regime remains stubbornly resistant to outside pressure, and defectors are often left to fend for themselves, with little hope of getting the help they need. In North Korean society, defectors are often seen as traitors. This stigma makes it even harder for people to leave because the moment someone tries to escape, they're branded as disloyal to the country. The government uses this label as a tool to control its citizens and keep them from even thinking about running away. But why does the North Korean regime go to such extreme lengths to keep its citizens from escaping? The answer is simple: control. If too many people escape, it sends a message to the rest of the population that there's something wrong with the regime. By keeping people locked in, the government can maintain its grip on power and prevent any serious challenges to its authority. Despite all these obstacles, many North Koreans still try to escape. Some make it, but many are caught and punished. The desperation for freedom is palpable, and the will to escape is so strong that people are willing to risk everything, even their lives, for a chance at something better. The hope for a better life is what drives so many North Koreans to take these terrifying risks. They dream of a world where they can live without fear, express themselves freely, and pursue their own happiness. This dream is what keeps them going, even when the odds are stacked against them. The situation in North Korea is a human rights crisis, and the international community needs to do more to support defectors and put pressure on the regime. Whether it's through providing asylum, increasing awareness, or pushing for tougher sanctions, we all have a role to play in bringing about change. At the end of the day, the journey to freedom for North Korean defectors is a long and dangerous one. But it's a journey that many are willing to make because the alternative, living under one of the most repressive regimes in the world, is simply unthinkable. The struggle for freedom continues, and we must stand with those brave enough to fight for a better life. And that's why North Koreans can't escape to neighboring countries. It's not just defenses, it's a complex system of fear, punishment, and political maneuvering that keeps people trapped. But as long as there's hope, there's always a chance for change. If you've been enjoying the content and finding it helpful or interesting, I'd love to have you join our community by subscribing to the channel. It's completely free and helps the channel grow so I can keep bringing you even more awesome content. No pressure, but your support means the world to me. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you.